Check comes from my blind side. Shoulder driving into ribs, boards slamming against spine. Copper floods my mouth as my mouth guard shifts. The world tilts. Ice becoming wall, wall becoming ceiling. Colors sharpen. The arena falls silent. I'm 4 years old. Wooden blocks tower on sun-warmed carpet. A shadow falls, then impact. Blocks scatter across the floor. Sunlight streams through curtains. Something warm trickles down my chin. Martin, hey, you with us? The rink returns. Faces hover, mouths moving. Their voices reach me through water. I nod, accept a hand up, test my weight on steel blades. Nothing broken. But as I glide back to the bench, small hands still clutch wooden blocks somewhere in time. The coach's whiteboard squeaks as he draws plays we've practiced 100 times. The other players nod, focused. I pretend to listen, but I'm cataloging what just happened. The metallic taste lingering on my tongue. The tunnel vision just before the shift. The double occupancy of adult and child simultaneously. These crossings have been happening more frequently. Impact seems to trigger them, as if a hard enough collision can knock time loose from its moorings. My body exists in multiple moments. And for a breath, the heartbeat, I exist between states rather than within them. Cobblestones under my feet. Gothic spires against autumn sky. My recorded voice speaks through earbuds. Paseo distinguishes between static and genetic phenomenology. Light filters through copper beech leaves along the university path. I stop. Pattern of shadow and light on stone, asterisk. A summer day on Inishmore. My grandmother pointing to light filtering through clouds onto the Atlantic. Look there, a thin place, she whispers. I follow her finger, and for a moment the water seems to open, revealing depths that aren't merely physical. The memory arrives not as thought, but as presence. The salt spray on my face, the vertigo of standing at the cliff edge, my grandmother's hand warm on my shoulder. The pattern of light shifts on the cobblestones and the Atlantic recedes, but the connection remains. Illumination filtering through leaves, illumination filtering through clouds, illumination filtering through words. Genetic phenomenology, concerned with how meaning sediments over time. Everything aligns. The Husserl text I've been struggling with for months suddenly opens. Not understood, but experienced. Sediment becoming stone, stone becoming knowledge, knowledge becoming flesh. My phone vibrates. Thomas about tomorrow's meeting. The alignment shatters. The path leads back to my apartment near the river. Books spread across my desk, notes taped to walls. I make tea, watch steam curl like question marks. The silence wraps around me, both burden and sanctuary. The subway ride home becomes an experiment. I hold the pole, feel vibration travel up my arm, deliberately soften my focus. The woman across from me reads her book. The pages turn translucent. I see all pages simultaneously, past, current, future, layered in impossible geometry. Her fingers leave momentary trails as they move. The businessman to my left checks his watch, the gestures splinters. I see him as a child learning to tell time, as a middle-aged man rushing between meetings, as an elderly man whose appointments have lost urgency, all versions overlapping like multiple exposures. My stop approaches. I step onto the platform and the world reassembles reluctantly into familiar shape. But the seams show, the places where reality is stitched together. A drop of water falls from the ceiling. It explodes in slow motion, each droplet containing its own universe. I watch it reform, time flowing backward, then forward again. My phone vibrates. Thomas. Martin. His voice too controlled to be casual. I've been thinking about what you showed me. Your notes. The water droplet freezes midair, suspended between states. There's a research institute, he continues. Lios Áno, they study unusual perceptual states. They could help you understand what's happening. Or they could try to stop it, I say quietly. A pause. Is that what you want? For it to stop? The droplet completes its fall, rejoining the puddle below. No, I answer truthfully. But I do want to understand it. Evening light stripes through blinds onto my wooden floor. I sit cross-legged on a cushion, press play. The first timbre note emerges, a single tone that vibrates in my chest cavity. The sitar enters, notes spooling out like thread. 1, 2, 3, 4 in. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out. The points of contact sharpen. Sit bones against cushion, back against wall, palms against knees. With each breath, these boundaries both intensify and dissolve. On the seventh exhale, my spine extends downward. Not imagination, a physical sensation of consciousness unspooling below the floorboards. I follow it down through wood joists, through concrete foundation into cool darkness. The sitar climbs to a higher register. Notes cascade like meltwater. Something gives way. My awareness floods outward. Through walls, down corridors, across threshold after threshold. The graduate student next door. Her frustration a bright edge as she types. The couple arguing one floor below. Their anger swirling in eddies. The constant hum of the building's electrical system. Outward still. The street with its rhythm of footsteps and tires, the deep rumble of delivery trucks, the university campus buzzing with thousands of thoughts colliding, the river flowing north, water over stones that remember glaciers, asterisk, ich kann asterisk, forms on my lips, German words rising unbidden. Asterisk, 12 years old, sitting in my grandmother's kitchen, her gnarled fingers tracing invisible patterns on the worn wooden table. The old ones built stone circles to mark thin places, she says. But thin places are everywhere if you know how to look. She taps my chest, especially here. Asterisk, the moment unfolds across time. Her kitchen table is here now. Oilcloth worn smooth beneath my palms, the scent of soda bread baking, rain tapping against glass. Her blue eyes holding mine as she speaks words in Irish that sound like water over stones. The clock in my hallway strikes 5. Each tone pulls my awareness back, from river to street to building to room. Reality reforms around me, condensing from mist to water to ice. Walls solidify. The music is just sound again, but something remains. A thinness, a permeability. The department meeting drones on. Budget, curriculum, enrollment projections. I say the expected things, make the expected notes. Sunlight moves across the conference table. It catches a water glass, throwing rainbow fractals against the white wall. But a sentence about enrollment targets, I'm elsewhere. Asterisk, standing at Drombeg Stone Circle, winter solstice, late afternoon. My grandmother, pointing to the alignment of stones. Now watch, she whispers. The sun touches the horizon, and a shaft of light threads precisely through the portal stones. For this one moment, she says, time isn't a line, but a wheel. Asterisk, Dr. Sullivan, your thoughts on the summer program? The stone circle dissolves. I'm back at the conference table, colleagues staring expectantly. Yes, I support the expansion. After the meeting, walking across campus, a hockey stick strikes a puck with that distinctive hollow click. Blood floods my mouth again. For one heartbeat, I'm simultaneously on the bench, watching the game, and on the ice, taking the hit. And in this moment, walking home. The notebook comes out. I write, asterisk hockey stick. Stone circle alignment light through beech leaves. Asterisk, asterisk, impact creates. Opening. Asterisk, Drombeg winter solstice department. Meeting fractal light asterisk. Later. When Thomas sees these notes, his forehead creases with concern, but something in his eyes says more, recognition, interest. What do you think is happening? He asks. It's not breakdown. I tell him. It's connection. The bookstore bell chimes as I enter. Stacks tower around me, that particular scent of paper and binding glue enveloping me like an old friend. I find myself in philosophy without conscious direction. Fingers trail along spines until they stop of their own accord. Merleau-Ponty. Asterisk. Phenomenology of perception. Asterisk. I open to a random page. Inside and outside are inseparable. The world is wholly inside, and I am wholly outside myself. The words shimmer, lifting from the page. Each letter vibrates at a frequency just beyond hearing. My vision tunnels until only the text remains, floating in darkness. Then I'm walking along the Seine. 1935. A man ahead of me stops to watch a barge pass beneath a bridge. His posture, his attention, I know without seeing his face that it's Merleau-Ponty himself, gathering experiences that will form his theories. I feel the connection between his perception and mine, stretched across decades, yet immediate. Can I help you find something? The bookstore returns. A clerk stands beside me, head tilted quizzically. The book in my hands is closed again? No, yes. I feel disoriented, half present. Do you have anything on Celtic concepts of time? He leads me to a small section of mythology and folklore. One slim volume catches my eye. 10 places, Celtic doorways between worlds. The moment my fingers touch its cover, the threshold opens again. Asterisk. Standing with my grandmother on a fog-shrouded hill, a dolmen stone silhouetted against pale sky. The ancients understood, she says. Time isn't a straight line moving forward. It's a standing wave, all moments existing simultaneously. She places my small hand on the cool, lichen-covered stone. Feel that? The stone remembers. And so will you. Asterisk. I purchased the book, though I already know what it contains. Not information, but confirmation. Not education, but recognition. Good night. I sit at my desk, notebook open, pages filled with failed attempts. How to capture the taste of blood that opens childhood, the light pattern that connects department meeting to stone circle, the feeling of consciousness extending through floorboards. Words fail. Sentences collapse under their own weight. Footsteps pass in the hallway. Pause. Continue. The almost interruption scatters my thoughts like startled birds. I close my eyes, try to return to that edge state. It's there, hovering just beyond language, but description pushes it further away. Words require sequence. These experiences exist simultaneously. Language demands categories. These moments blur boundaries. Asterisk. The ritual darkness of the Felid, ancient Irish poet-seers who trained in blackened rooms. Not to escape the world, my grandmother explained, but to see beyond seeing, to perceive the connections ordinary vision misses. Asterisk. I'd asked her how they translated these visions into poems others could understand. That, she said, her smile deepening the lines around her eyes, was the real work. Asterisk. I open my eyes, make one final attempt on the blank page. Not words this time. A single mark. A line that curves back upon itself, open at one end. A spiral that is also a doorway. I study it, knowing it's not description but gesture. Not explanation, but invitation. A finger pointing at the moon. The notebook closes. I switch off the lamp. In darkness, the mark remains invisible but present, like the experiences themselves, not gone, just waiting at the threshold. Thomas brings coffee to my office. Earl Grey for me, Americano for him. The steam carries the scent of bergamot and memories of other conversations, other cups, future and past, blurring into this one. You're looking better, he says, though his eyes assess with clinical interest. Sleep helps. A lie. Sleep has become a threshold state. Dreams and waking consciousness bleeding into each other till I'm not sure which is which. He slides a folder across my desk. I've been researching what you described. There are documented cases with some similarities. I open it. Brain scans, case studies, theoretical models, all clinical, detached, trying to convert experience into data. Temporal lobe anomalies, he says, tapping one page. Synaptic hyperconnectivity here. Reduced filtering function in the thalamus. Words to capture threshold states in the net of reason. But thresholds aren't reasonable. There's another explanation, I say. I'm listening. I tell them about thin places, not as folklore or metaphor, but as perceptual reality. About time as a standing wave rather than an arrow. About consciousness as a field that extends beyond the boundaries of skull and skin. He nods, takes notes. His skepticism is gentle but present. A scientist trying to understand in the only way he knows how. Lios Áno has equipment, he says finally. Resources to document what you're experiencing, to understand it, to control it, I add. He doesn't deny this. Knowledge always brings some measure of control. Through the window behind him, light shifts across the campus. A student walks by, but in my perception, she moves through multiple times at once, arriving for her first day of classes, graduating in spring, returning years later for a reunion. All happening now, layered like translucent images. What if it's not pathology, I ask? What if it's evolution? Considers this scientist enough to entertain the hypothesis. That's tested. Is it? How do you measure what exists between measurements? Well, I'm grading papers when my phone lights up. Lios Áno Institute. I've heard from colleagues about changes in your perceptual pattern, the voice said. Dr. Reed mentioned your experience. Who is this? Dr. Fiona Brennan. We've observed similar phenomena in others. My fingers trace the spiral I drew in my notebook. We're studying this systematically. That's what we do at Lios Áno. We map territories others dismiss as impossible or dangerous. What do you call it? This phenomenon. Threshold perception. The capacity to exist at boundaries between states, to occupy liminal space where categories blend without breaking. Masters. On the Inishmore's western edge, my grandmother pointing to where sky meets sea meets stone. A threshold, she named it in Irish, the word sounding like wind through grass. Neither one thing nor another, but the place between. This is where everything happens. Asterisk. What do you want from me? I asked Dr. Brennan, though I already know. Documentation, observation, controlled exploration, and perhaps collaboration with others who share this capacity. I look down at my notebook at the curved line that contains more truth than all my abandoned sentences. I'll need time, I say. Of course, threshold work cannot be rushed. The door opens when it's ready, not when we demand it. After we end the call, I add one line beneath my spiral. Asterisk. The threshold is not between me and the world, but between different ways of being. In the world, a shudder runs through me. What if I'm right? Outside, twilight blurs day into night, the threshold hour. I stand at my window watching lights flicker on across campus. A woman walks her dog along the street below. In my perception, they move through multiple layers of time. The dog as puppy, as adult, as old companion approaching its final days. The woman similarly phased, her posture straightening then stooping as years pass in an instant. Moments aren't discrete but flow into each other like watercolors on wet paper. The hockey rink where I took that hit is visible at the edge of campus, lights glowing in the dusk. From here I can feel the cold of the ice, taste blood in my mouth, hear blades carving patterns. I'm there and here simultaneously. In Irish tradition, twilight was considered a dangerous time. Neither day nor night, but the threshold between, when boundaries grew thin and permeable. Doors were locked, protections invoked. But I'm becoming such a threshold, a place where multiple states coexist. Not a doorway to be feared, but perspective to be explored. I reach for my notebook, begin a new entry. This time the words come more easily. Not trying to explain, but to map. Not to define, but to invite. Asterisk. The world is not as solid as we pretend. Time is not a river, but an ocean. Consciousness is not contained by skin, but extends like light. We don't move through time. Time moves through us. Asterisk. I am learning to stand at the threshold, to exist in the between space, to see not with or through, but as. I close the notebook. Tomorrow I'll contact Dr. Brennan. There are others like me, people learning to navigate these liminal spaces, to map territories beyond conventional perception. But tonight I'll simply observe as day becomes night, becomes day again, as moments flow into each other, as boundaries reveal themselves to be not walls, but membranes, permeable to those who know how to look,